Television, your best station for news, politics, business, sports and entertainment. Your one-stop channel, Asset Television.
Hello and thanks for staying with us on Asset Television. Welcome to the news. I am Doris Samuel. The headlines. Tinubu raises presidential committee to oversee emergency operations over cholera outbreak in the country. Christian Association of Nigeria calls for unity and love amongst Nigerians. Egypt shops to close at 10 p.m. as part of efforts to rationalize electricity consumption. Now, the news in full. President Bola Tinubu has directed the setting up of a presidential committee to oversee the Cholera Emergency Operations Center, operated by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The Minister of Health, Ali Pate, made this known on Tuesday after the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by President Tinubu at the State House in Abuja. The minister also disclosed that the Cabinet Committee comprises members from the Federal Ministry of Health, Finance, Water Resources, Environment, Youth, Aviation and Education. He added that the committee's effort is in addition to state government's effort to ensure Nigeria makes progress in reducing open defecation. Pate disclosed that at the moment 31 states have recorded 1,528 cases in Nigeria with 53 deaths. At the moment, he said that Nigeria is working through the emergency center activated by the NCDC to reduce it. He emphasized that the multi-sectoral approach is required to tackle the outbreak. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has dismissed the report that the 10th Senate is proposing that the federal government should procure new aircraft for President Tinubu and his Vice Senator Kashim Shettima. Speaking to newsmen in Maiduguri shortly after leading a delegation to pay a condolence visit to Senator Tahir Mongunu over the death of his father, Akpabio noted that the report is not true. Last week, reports filtered in the media that the Senate President made a comment that the Senate will approve the purchase of new aircraft for the President and Vice President, irrespective of the fact that Nigerians are hungry. The Senate President said the report was from propagandists and fifth columnists, stressing that the Senate was focused on delivering legislation that would support the actualization of President Tinubu's Renew Hope agenda. Akpabio, who expressed satisfaction with the present security situation of Borno State, urged Nigerians to continue to pray for the President's administration. The 36 state governors of Nigeria have scheduled an emergency meeting for today, Wednesday, the 26th of June, to discuss and find common ground on the contentious issue of the proposed new minimum wage, which has been a subject of debate between the federal, states, and organized labor. The meeting follows the Federal Executive Council's decision to postpone deliberations on the minimum wage memo on Tuesday. The governors had previously rejected the federal government's proposed minimum wage of 62,000 naira, citing concerns that some states will need to borrow to fund the new wage. The governors had previously rejected the federal government's proposed minimum wage of 62,000 naira, citing concerns that some states would have to borrow funds to implement the new wage. However, organized labor remains resolute in its demand for a minimum wage of 250,000 naira. According to Alima Ahmed, Acting Director on Media and Public Affairs of the Nigerian Governors Forum, the governors will meet at 7 p.m. on Wednesday in Abuja to discuss the matter and potentially find a way forward. The Police Service Commission, PSC, said it has not and would not cancel the list of successful candidates released for recruitment into constable cadre of the Nigerian Police Force. The head of press and public relations of PSC, Ikechukwu Ani, stated this in a statement on Tuesday in Abuja. Ani said the clarification was followed by the statement being circulated on the social media alleging that the commission has succumbed to pressure and cancelled the final list of successful candidates. According to him, the statement did not emanate from the commission, urging the public to disregard same. He added that the recruitment exercise was conducted in clear adherence to relevant guidelines and provisions of the law. He said the commission had just concluded a routine maintenance of its portal containing the list of the successful candidates, and he therefore urged those behind the circulated statement to desist from undermining the recruitment exercise, adding that anyone caught will be dealt with. He went on to say that the portal is now fully functional and accessible, hence candidates can now log in and access all its features without disruptions. And now to the FCT. News on the FCT. The Abuja Metropolitan Management Council, Federal Capital Territory Administration, says it will begin the relocation of mechanics and traders and other artisans operating on road corridors and buffer zones to Owasa. The AMC coordinator Felix Obua disclosed this to newsmen after a meeting with representatives of the affected traders and mechanics. Party disclosed that at the moment 31 states have recorded 1,528 cases in Nigeria with 53 deaths. He emphasized that multi-sectoral approach is required to tackle the outbreak. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has dismissed the report that the 10th Senate is proposing that the federal government should procure new aircraft for President Bola Tinubu and his vice, Senator Kashim Shettima. Speaking to newsmen in Maiduguri shortly after leading a delegation to pay a condolence visit to Senator Tahir Mungunu over the death of his father, Akpabio noted that the report is not true. Last week, reports filtered in the media that the Senate President made a comment that the Senate would approve the purchase of new aircraft for the President and Vice President, irrespective of the fact that Nigerians are hungry. The Senate President said the report was from propagandists and fifth columnists, stressing that the Senate was focused on delivering legislation that will support the actualization of President Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. Akpabio, who expressed satisfaction with the present security situation of Borno State, urged Nigerians to continue to pray for the present administration. The 36 state governors of Nigeria have scheduled an emergency meeting for today, Wednesday, the 26th of June 2024, to discuss and find common ground on the contentious issue of the proposed new minimum wage, which has been a subject of debate between the federal government, states, and organized labor. The meeting follows the Executive Council's decision to postpone deliberations on the minimum wage memo on Tuesday. The governors had previously rejected the federal government's proposed minimum wage of 62,000 naira, citing concerns that some states would need to borrow funds to implement the new wage. However, organized labor remains resolute in its demand for a minimum wage of 250,000 naira. According to Halima Ahmed, Acting Director on Media and Public Affairs of the Nigerian Governors Forum, the governors will meet at 7 p.m. on Wednesday in Abuja to discuss the matter and potentially find a way forward. The Police Service Commission, PSC, said it has not and would not cancel the list of successful candidates released for recruitment into constable cadre of the Nigerian Police Force. The head of press, Ikechukwu Ani, stated this in a statement on Tuesday in Abuja. Ani said this clarification was followed by the statement being circulated on the social media alleging that PSC has succumbed to pressure and cancelled the final list of successful candidates. According to him, the statement did not emanate from the commission, urging the public to disregard the same. He added that the recruitment exercise was conducted in clear adherence to relevant guidelines and provisions of the law. He said the commission had just concluded a routine maintenance of its portal containing the list of the successful candidates, and he therefore urged those behind the circulated statement to desist from it. While telling the public that the portal is now open for successful candidates to check their names without any glitch. The Federal Capital Territory, the Abuja Metropolitan Management Council FCTA administration says it will begin the relocation of mechanics and traders operating on road corridors and buffer zones to Wasa. The AMA coordinator Felix Obua disclosed this to newsmen after a meeting with representatives of the affected traders and mechanics in Abuja on Tuesday. Obua explained that the FCT minister Nyesom Wike has approved the exercise designated for such businesses, adding that the evacuation will begin in a month's time. He identified those to be relocated as artisans, mechanics, traders, spare part dealers, furniture makers, roadside cooking gas dealers, and amongst other artisans. He said that the land allocation will be given to genuine traders, spare part dealers, mechanics, furniture makers, and artisans, amongst others. If you are just joining us, you are watching the news on Asset Television. We'll be back after this break.
Welcome to Asset Television, your best station for news, politics, business, sports and entertainment. Your one-stop channel, Asset Television. Welcome to Asset Television, your best station for news, politics, business, sports and entertainment. Your one-stop channel, Asset Television.
You're welcome back from the break. The Federal Capital Territory Administration has restated its commitment to ending negligence, torture, and stigmatization for widows in the territory. Mandate Secretary, Women Affairs Secretariat, FCTA, Dr. Adebayo Benjamins Laniye, gave this assurance on Tuesday in Abuja at an event organized to commemorate the 2024 International Women's Day. The theme of the event, accelerating the achievement of gender equality, was geared towards strengthening widows' land and property rights. The FCTA Women's Secretariat also distributed food items, wrappers, detergents, and cash to over 300 widows. The food items included cooking oil, rice, and semovita. MS Benjamin Lani said that the Women Affairs Secretariat was a deliberate and strategic hub established to take care of vulnerable people, including widows. She said, "Today we rise with one voice to say no to negligence, torture, and stigmatization of widows in the Federal Capital Territory and Nigeria at large. We are assured that the current administration is committed to ending violence against widows and their children and promoting poverty alleviation, education, and other support to widows." The gesture, according to her, is in line with the renewed hope initiative of the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, who is bent on giving hope to the hopeless and putting smiles on the faces of the vulnerable. She argued that the widows have historically been left unsupported in the various spectrums of society, adding that experiences from different cultural backgrounds show that widows were often denied inheritance rights, while others had their properties grabbed after the death of a husband. The permanent secretary in the secretariat, Kolawole Adetoyin, explained that the palliative support was a means to appreciate and show respect for widows. Adetoyin said the FCTA would continue to empower and uplift widows to overcome the obstacles they faced. Christians Association of Nigeria have called upon believers to be more united amongst themselves, irrespective of the religious denominations. Preaching on Sunday during the ecumenical service with the theme, "Ye are the salt of the earth," at the Christ Apostolic Church, Kabusa, the FCT Vice Chairman, Reverend Dr. Isaac Komolafe, said unity gives more answers to problems.
When we are united, then we can fight our common enemy. Divided, we fall. When we stand together, and God knows the importance of unity. That's why also Jesus said the same thing in the book of John chapter 17, that when we are one, that is where God commanded his blessing. Unity is not uniformity. Unity does not mean that we all wear uniform, wear the same clothing, or do our services the same way. There is strength in diversity. As a nation, Nigeria, we have maybe about 520 different languages. It's supposed to be our strength. That's supposed not to divide us. Also, when we talk about religion, also various religion also here, that's supposed not to divide us. It's supposed to be our strength.
On the theme for the service, he said believers are valuable to the world because they prevent the society from moral decadence. Prayers were said during the service for individuals, the church, economy, and Nigeria, as well as the leadership of the country.
Of unity, the purpose is all about unity. We talk about oneness, we talk about togetherness, we talk about love. But sometimes, even though we thank God for where we are now, but sometimes even when we are talking about love, we don't love one another. We say it just in the lips, but we don't really practice it. And like I always said, let us practice what we are preaching. Let us preach what we are doing and do what we are preaching. So,
on the theme for the service, he said believers are valuable to the world because they prevent the society from moral decadence. Prayers was said during the service for individuals, the church, economy, and Nigeria, as well as the leadership of the country. Luck ran out on 3 suspected kidnappers as they were arrested in Otukpo, Benue State. The kidnappers came to Ihotu Park to board a vehicle to Makurdi, but luck ran out on them when a girl they last kidnapped and released after paying ransom recognized them and raised an alarm. The girl identified the bag they were using as the one they collected from her when she was kidnapped, following which she raised an alarm for their apprehension and subsequent arrest. 11 million naira was discovered in the Ghana Must Go bag they boarded the vehicle with, while it took the timely intervention of the park manager to save them from being lynched by mobs who were about setting them ablaze. Ochechi Agada of Ebony Media, who was at the scene, said they have been moved to Makurdi, the state capital, for further interrogation and investigation. A major feat in live coverage of matches of the Nigerian Premier Football League was accomplished on the final match day of the 2023-2024 season by Propel Sports Africa, which streamed 9 of the 10 matches in its MPFL live app. It is an achievement that got stakeholders applauding the MPFL's streaming broadcast partners, as such number of matches have never been achieved on any platform in the history of the league. Basil Kabane, the chairman of Propel Sports, explained that the company chose the final day to push for total coverage to ensure that millions of soccer-loving Nigerians are able to see their beloved teams perform and watch the final climax to the season. He assured the clubs and fans that Propel would be investing more on infrastructure to ensure seamless streaming of more matches in the new season. He went to describe the just ended season as a learning curve which turned out to be a huge success. He said the company investment includes the deployment of 10 AI cameras in Nigeria, hiring and training over 80 technicians and commentators, and investment in local communications and Starlinks for broadcasting streaming uploads. Armed terrorists linked to Al-Qaeda. I take again. Armed terrorists linked to Al-Qaeda on Tuesday killed 21 soldiers, injuring 9 in Tasasuni Bajo, Tilaberi, Niger Republic. Following the incident, the Niger government has declared a 3-day period of national mourning to honor the lost. This was made known by Zagazola Makama, a Lake Chad Basin counter-terrorism and insurgency expert, in a post on his X handle on Tuesday. Makama said the attack occurred near Niger's border with Burkina Faso and Mali, noting that the area was frequently targeted by extremist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. According to him, the ongoing conflict in the Sahel region has resulted in thousands of deaths and the displacement of over 2 million people. Makama specifically noted that the attack came at a time of heightened political tension in Niger after military junta took power in a coup last year, which now faces pressure from neighboring countries and international forces to address the growing security crisis. The ongoing conflict in the Sahel region has resulted in thousands of deaths and the displacement of over 2 million people. This attack comes at a time of heightened political tension and international crisis from the international community. Kenyan President William Ruto said his country had experienced an unprecedented attack on its democracy after the demonstrators stormed parliament on Tuesday in mass protest against planned tax rises. President Ruto said legitimate protest against his policies had been hijacked by a group of organized criminals. He warned that his government will use all means at its disposal to prevent a repeat of the violence at any cost. Today's event marked a critical point on how we respond to our peace, the BBC reports the president as saying. We will ensure a situation of this does not reoccur again. Kenya is in the grips of nationwide protest against proposed tax hike, culminating in Tuesday's total shutdown on the country. Police fired tear gas at protesters outside the parliament and used live ammunition, leaving at least 5 people dead and more than 30 injured, according to human rights group. The controversial finance bill has led to widespread protest, which organizers say will be 7 days of rage. Last week, the government scrapped some tax increases, including a 16% value-added tax on bread, along with taxes on motor vehicles, vegetable oil, and mobile money transfers. But the concessions have not been enough to quell protest amidst the rising cost of living. Earlier on Tuesday, Parliament had passed a bill to increase taxes, including fuel levies and import taxes, despite protests opposing the move. The law is now awaiting Ruto's assent, according to Financial Times. Ruto has also approved military deployment to quell the protest, but did not say whether he would withdraw support for the finance bill. Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madboulle announced on Tuesday that most shops will now close at 10 p.m. except supermarkets, which will remain open until 1 a.m. starting next week as part of efforts to rationalize electricity consumption. This comes as a part of a plan to reduce power outages during summer at an estimated cost of $1 billion, he said, in addition to contracting up to 300,000 tons of diesel shipments that will arrive at the beginning of next week at a cost of $180 million. During a press conference over the government's plan to confront the problem of power outages, Bulletin added that load shedding will continue for 3 hours per day until the second week of July, and that electricity outages will be stopped starting by the third week. June witnessed 3 unprecedented heat waves, the Prime Minister noted, and electricity consumption approached 36 gigawatts on Monday due to high temperatures. He explained that Egypt stopped exporting electricity 3 years ago due to the increasing consumption. The Prime Minister reiterated his apology to the Egyptian public regarding the power cuts. He pledged that the electricity crisis will finally be resolved by the end of this year, and stated that the issue lies not in power generation or transmission, but with fuel procurement. And that is the news. I am Doris Samuel. Keep watching Asset TV for more interesting programs.
Welcome to Asset Television, your best station for news, politics, business, sports and entertainment. Your one-stop channel, Asset Television. Welcome to Asset